Are you tired of sifting through endless health advice that promises quick fixes but delivers nothing but frustration? Welcome to the Anti-Macro Podcast, the go-to place for scientifically backed yet digestible health and fitness wisdom without the fads or gimmicks. Whether you're looking to ditch chronic dieting, optimize your hormone and gut health, or simply find balance in your wellness journey, you're in the right place. I'm Coach Diana Lee, your no-nonsense guide to transforming your health and mindset for the better. Each episode, I'll dive into topics ranging from nutrition basics to debunking common myths to cutting-edge functional health insights, sometimes featuring guest experts in the space. Get ready to learn, grow, and take actionable steps toward a healthier and happier you. So grab your favorite beverage, kick back, and let's dive in. Let's talk about something that I see come up a lot with women who feel like they're doing everything right with their nutrition and training, but their body composition just isn't responding the way that they expect. They're strength training consistently, they're trying to prioritize protein, they're paying attention to their food choices, but fat loss feels stalled. Muscle gain feels harder than it should be, and they often feel bloated or inflamed along the way. When that happens, most people assume that the issue is simply that they need to eat less or tighten up their diet even more. But in many cases, there's something deeper going on physiologically that isn't being addressed. One of the biggest areas that I see impacting body composition that honestly doesn't get talked about enough in the fitness space is our digestive health. Your gut isn't just responsible for breaking down food. It plays a huge role in inflammation, stress signaling, blood sugar regulation, hormone balance, and even how efficiently your body uses energy. So if your digestion is constantly under stress, that stress doesn't just stay in the gut. It starts to ripple outward into other systems in the body. In this episode, I want to walk you through how chronic gut dysfunction can create a cascade of physiological effects, from inflammation to cortisol signaling to impaired glucose regulation, and how those changes can make fat loss and muscle gain much harder than they need to be. The goal here isn't to make body composition sound more complicated than it should be. It's to help you understand what might actually be driving the plateaus that you're experiencing so you can approach your goals more strategically instead of just exercising more and eating less. So let's start by talking about what's actually happening in the body when gut dysfunction is at play. The first thing that we have to understand is that gut dysfunction is a constant stress signal going off in your body. When you have acute gut distress, such as you eat something that doesn't agree with you, then the gut irritation that results temporarily elevates inflammation. Your body reacts with maybe short-term symptoms like heartburn, indigestion, or diarrhea. Once your body overcomes the trigger, those symptoms go away, your inflammatory signaling lowers, and your body returns to homeostasis. But when we're in a state of chronic gut dysfunction, that inflammatory signaling is more constant. In these cases, we're seeing frequent bloating in response to food, heartburn or indigestion happening with most meals, vacillating between constipation and diarrhea, or potentially staying in one area or the other more chronically, excessive burping following meals, foul-smelling gas, or feeling puffy or inflamed often. When these symptoms become your normal rather than once in a while, then you likely have ongoing elevated inflammation. This repeated stressor placed on the body leads to the release of cortisol, which is an anti-inflammatory agent used to manage inflammation within the body. I know right now that the cool thing to do is to fearmonger cortisol release, but it's not inherently a bad thing. In acute inflammation, cortisol is released in response to address the perceived threat. Once that happens, a signal is sent to the brain to essentially say, "Don't sweat it, we've got this under control." This signals to the brain that it can calm down in the face of a threat because it's being dealt with appropriately. Cortisol is like the general being sent to the front lines of an invasion. It will regulate the immune activation necessary to address the threat, or in this metaphor, it determines precisely how many troops are needed on the ground to win the fight. It prevents your body from overreacting and causing unnecessary damage. Afterwards, the body systems calm down because our general sends back word to headquarters, our brain, that the situation has been handled. But in chronic gut dysfunction, the threat never fully resolves. Headquarters keeps receiving distress signals and the general stays deployed. Over time, communication between the front lines and headquarters becomes less efficient. The system struggles to determine when enough is enough, and that's when regulation starts to break down. When something like cortisol is constantly activated, the body adapts to it. Over time, tissues become less responsive to cortisol's regulatory effects, meaning more signaling is required to achieve the same outcome. Something else that we need to understand is that one of cortisol's primary jobs is to increase blood sugar during stress because it is mobilizing stored energy. Again, blood sugar elevations are often demonized, but in short bursts, this is essential for our body to respond to a threat. If you're in a stressful situation in which you need to fight or flee, that stored energy becomes very useful to you. So now, in a dysregulated state, cortisol signaling becomes less tightly regulated, leading to more frequent elevations in blood glucose. And as I stated before, when something is activated or released in the body constantly, our body adapts to it. Chronic glucose elevations can reduce the cell's responsiveness to insulin over time, and glucose is not cleared as efficiently. This state is known as insulin resistance. Now let's begin to connect the dots on how this cascading effect within the body will impact your ability to lose or maintain weight. If you've ever tried to calculate the calories that you need to consume for a specific physical outcome, you've likely come across the acronym TDEE, or Total Daily Energy Expenditure. This is the total energy your body uses in a day. TDEE is not as simple as it seems because internal physiology can determine how energy is partitioned and expended. This is why two people can eat the same amount of calories yet experience completely different fat loss outcomes. When our glucose control is impaired, our energy utilization becomes less efficient, and your body will burn fewer calories over the course of the day, which lowers your TDEE. You might notice that you have less energy overall, and as a result, your non-exercise activity will begin to lower and your training output will drop. You may also notice that you're not recovering from your workouts or other stressors quite as well. Cravings will increase, and then you'll have a harder time adhering to your nutrition plan. A lot of people will say at this point that your metabolism is broken, but it's really just adapting. Your body is shifting towards energy conservation for survival purposes. At this point, fat loss stalls not because calories in and calories out doesn't work, but rather because your calorie equation isn't factoring in a slower metabolism. This chronic sympathetic activation doesn't only impact our body's ability to manage energy, but it will also impact our digestion. In sympathetic activation, our body is preparing to fight or flee from a perceived threat. As a result, it will divert blood flow away from the GI system to prioritize oxygen delivery to our muscles and skin. As a result, we have impaired nutrient absorption, which decreases micronutrient status such as magnesium, B vitamins, and omega-3s, which can contribute to further cortisol dysregulation. When we're stuck in a chronic stress state, digestion slows down. Food doesn't move through the system the way that it's supposed to. That can leave you feeling overly full after small meals, bloated, gassy, or even dealing with abdominal discomfort. When things aren't moving well through the gut, waste and hormone byproducts don't get cleared out as efficiently either. And that matters because your digestive system isn't just about breaking down food. It plays a role in helping regulate other systems in your body, including your thyroid and your sex hormones. So now it's not just a digestion issue anymore. It starts to spill over into your overall hormonal balance. When most people struggle with fat loss and see themselves bloating, they're quick to jump to reducing their intake because they think they need to lose their belly. If your metabolism is slower and you're not losing weight at this many calories, you'll just drop your intake more to compensate. But aggressively eating less is another stressor layered on top of an already dysregulated system. As I already discussed in episode 98 about food noise, chronic dieting can lead to low energy intake as well as decreased micronutrient status, which impacts other systems within the body. In a dysregulated gut, our hampered absorption is leading to suboptimal micronutrient status, so cutting calories further will layer on top of that. As you can see, this becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. The chronic inflammation driven by your gut leads to poor energy utilization, dysregulation in bodily systems, lowered recovery, heightened stress, and ongoing symptoms. We cannot treat this with just an eat less mentality, but rather we need to address the chronic low grade inflammation stemming from our digestive system that's driving these adaptations. It's important that we realize that gut dysfunction doesn't just impact fat loss, but also muscle gain. You might be thinking, building muscle improves glucose control, so I'll just exercise my way to my ideal body composition. But if we ignore the digestive distress, you're fighting an uphill battle. Muscle gain requires recovery. Exercise is stress placed on the muscle, and the actual muscle growth happens outside of the gym when your body recovers from exercise. One of the most essential tools that we have for muscle recovery is sleep, but in cases of chronic stress, sleep can be impaired. When we're stuck in a chronic stress response, our nervous system has a harder time shifting into that rest and repair mode at night. You might feel tired, but wired at night. Or maybe you fall asleep fine, but you wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. Or you sleep through the night, but you don't actually feel restored in the morning. Sleep is when growth hormone pulses, when tissue repair accelerates, and when your nervous system resets. If sleep quality drops, recovery drops. And if recovery drops, muscle growth slows down no matter how good your training program is. And we all know that protein is incredibly important for muscle synthesis. At this point, I know women are kind of getting sick of being told to eat their protein, and you might feel like you're trying to eat as much as you can, but your stomach just cannot handle the load. Protein is taxing for the digestive system to break down, which is why it can be a great tool for increasing satiety within meals. But when we have a compromised digestive system, our body will struggle to break down and utilize the protein that you are consuming. Chronic stress lowers stomach acid and alters our digestive enzyme output, two key things utilized within our gut to break down food. In these cases, you might feel like food sits like a rock in your stomach, or you get full from normal sized meals very quickly. Maybe you also have gas in response to protein heavy meals. We also have to remember that muscle is highly involved in glucose control. Muscle tissue acts as a storage site for glucose. When our insulin sensitivity is strong, nutrients are more likely to be directed toward muscle repair and storage. But as we described earlier, gut dysfunction can lead to chronic stress and impaired glucose regulation, which can make this process less efficient. Nutrients are more likely to be stored rather than used to build or repair tissue. As our recovery becomes hampered, our performance can decline. It's not that you're not working hard, but rather your internal environment is not optimized for growth. Keep in mind as well that there are other systems at play here. When I work with women in my coaching who have gut dysfunction, they often also have suboptimal thyroid and sex hormone signaling. The gut modulates many of our hormonal systems, and these systems also play a part in energy regulation and building muscle. And the chronically stressed environment our body is in takes it out of build mode and into survival mode. The body will always prioritize survival over building muscle or optimizing body composition. This is why when your efforts towards a certain body composition, whether it's to lose weight, build muscle, or both, start to stall, you need to dig deeper into your digestive health. Ask yourself, how is my digestion? Do I experience symptoms in response to food often? How is my sleep? And am I feeling well rested? How is my stool quality? With this one, it can help to get familiar with the Bristol stool chart. Healthy stool is regularly a type 3 or type 4. Outside of that, on a regular basis, can signal gut dysfunction. Am I experiencing post-meal fatigue? Am I bloated more often than not? If digestive distress is present, there needs to be a strategic order to how you approach your goals. Rather than cutting calories or adding in more cardio, you will want to first focus on the foundations. Aim to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours each night. Shift towards mostly whole, minimally processed foods. Eat balanced meals consistently throughout the day. Include adequate protein from sources that you digest well. Aim for roughly 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. Aim for about 0.5 to 1 ounces of water per pound of body weight to stay hydrated. And actively work on stress management and shifting into parasympathetic rest and digest state. Prioritizing the basics can restore a sense of safety to your system. You may notice digestion improving, symptoms decreasing, and energy increasing. But for some women, foundational habits aren't enough. If you're consistently eating whole foods and still reacting to meals, a more individualized approach may be needed. In my coaching, this is where I implement targeted gut support strategies designed to calm inflammation, support digestive dysfunction, improve microbial balance, and gradually reintroduce foods in a more stable environment. Body composition is often touted as a simple caloric equation and discipline, but it's more complex than that. Your body composition efforts are impacted by your internal physiology, and this isn't to make the process seem like it's harder than it should be. This episode should provide you better clarity on how you might need to approach your body composition goals. Because when you understand what's actually driving your plateau, you can approach your goals strategically instead of just pushing harder. Before you ask your body to change, make sure you're supporting the systems that allow it to. And clarity like this is something that I've been committed to bringing you for a long time now. It is wild to say this, but this is my 100th episode of the Anti-Macro Podcast. I started putting out long-form content on this platform in late 2022, and it's crazy to reflect back on the growth of this podcast. When I started, I spoke much more through an intuitive eating lens, and now I've been able to go much deeper into physiology, gut, metabolism, and hormones. I have loved sharing my growth and education with you guys here, and I hope it's equally helped you grow in your health and fitness journey. If you've been following along since the beginning, I want to thank you for the time that you've spent listening over the years. And if you're just joining me in more recent years or months, thank you for tuning in and giving this podcast a shot. I hope you have found the content to be valuable and informative, and I cannot wait to see what comes with the next 100 episodes. Thanks again for listening, subscribing, and sharing, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Anti-Macro Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable and actionable for your own wellness journey. Remember, true transformation comes from consistent, intentional steps forward. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated on all things health and fitness, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode. I release fresh content bi-weekly every Wednesday to keep you inspired and informed. And hey, if you loved what you heard, I'd be thrilled if you could take a moment to share this podcast with a friend or family member who might benefit from it. By sharing it with others, you're helping them on their wellness journey too. Keep striving for progress, not perfection, and I'll catch you next time.